In the same way that we acknowledge the traditional owners of the land we meet on today, I want to begin today by acknowledging the traditional owners of the lands that have been affected by bushfires across the country. I acknowledge their connection to country and their continued custodianship of those lands. As we meet here today for the first day of Parliament this year, bushfires continue to burn across the country. Here in Canberra, smoke still sits in the air. The truth is, we're yet to fully take stock of the impact these fires are having on our communities and our environment. This summer has been brutal and costly. Lives have been lost, homes have been lost, and communities are going to continue to count the economic cost for many months to come. This level of devastation we have seen this summer has at times felt overwhelming. I know that many Australians, particularly young Australians, are worried about the immediate danger we face, but also worry about what a bushfire season like this means for the future of our country. With our climate changing, many Australians want to know if this is the new normal. We need to ask that question. We need to ask questions about the level of government response in the peak of this emergency. We need to establish what support will be needed now, but also into the future months and years ahead to help recover and rebuild. We need to know what the ecological impacts of these fires have been, what species are now at threat because of the damage to habitat. We need to consider the factors that have contributed to the intensity of these fires and the warnings that were given about the intensity of these fires to come. We need to make sure that changes to protect Australian lives, Australian homes and Australia's economy from future disasters. And there will be time to ask those questions. But right now we have to take this opportunity to recognise the 33 lives that have been lost and express our very deep sympathies with those Australians who have lost loved ones. Indeed, right now, they are asking themselves the cruelest question: how will they overcome the grief of losing a husband, a parent, a child, a mate? We know that nothing can bring back the embrace of a loved one. We know that losing a house is costly, but losing a home is heartbreaking. To those who have lost their loved ones, their homes, their towns, their livelihoods and livestock, our hearts break with you. We know that you are grieving and you need our help and support to recover. Throughout this terrible time, on the front line of the fires, firefighters, defence personnel and volunteers have put their lives on the line to save homes and protect lives. We say thank you to those volunteers for their hard work and bravery. In addition to fighting fires at home, the Queensland Government has also deployed 516 personnel to New South Wales and Victoria to assist with the ongoing crisis. Many of these men and women haven't seen their family or friends for weeks or months. Most are volunteers from rural and regional areas, fighting to protect the communities and environment that they love. Just 2 days ago, on my trip to Canberra, I met a crew of volunteer firefighters travelling from Queensland to Canberra to support local crews here on the ground. I had the chance to meet them and say thank you and to tell them to stay safe. I asked them what they needed and how we could help. You can tell that they didn't want the accolades or awards, but they did say that something needs to be done to provide some financial support for volunteers who have been working for months. We know these volunteers don't expect to get paid, but they don't expect to see a fire season such as the one we have faced this year. We owe it to those volunteers to support them the same way they are supporting us. Without them, where would we be? Across Australia, there are also 6,400 Australian Defence Force personnel, which include 3,000 reserves assisting with these efforts. From Townsville, in North Queensland, more than 140 personnel from the 5th and 6th Aviation Regiments, along with 4 Chinooks and 4 MRH-90 helicopters, have been deployed to Victoria, New South Wales and South Australia. They have been carrying out evacuation operations, supporting firefighting operations and providing humanitarian assistance to remote and isolated communities. They make us proud and they keep us safe. We are forever grateful for their service. Finally, many people in Australia and across the country have also made donations to bushfire relief efforts. Some donations have been financial, some have been in kind. The response has been overwhelming and heartwarming. We say thank you to every person who has contributed, big or small. In my first speech, I spoke about the Aboriginal community of Yarrabah, located on a beautiful beach south of Cairns. It's a community of rich history and activism. There is a chronic lack of housing in Yarrabah. The median income is $288 a week. That's less than half the national average. Yet, in response to these fires, the community held an event in Yarrabah to raise funds for bushfire victims. A young boy asked one of the elders why they were collecting money, and he was told, "Those people have lost their homes and they need our help." The community raised over $500. All across Australia, people who don't have much are giving everything that they have to help Australians that they will never meet. And for me, that is what it means to be Australian. Throughout this time, our time of darkness, and at a time of deep anxiety about our future, Australians can take some comfort in these stories of bravery, service and generosity. As I said at the beginning, there are some tough questions that need to be asked and answered, and there will be time for that. But today we acknowledge those Australians who have no home to return to or roof over their heads, and the families who will never see their loved ones walk through the door again.